Welcome to the From Concealment Podcast, the show for firearm enthusiasts who like to shoot, train, carry, and compete. Get ready for some shooting insight, firearm and accessory reviews, and of course, insight on concealed carry. And now, broadcasting from behind enemy lines in the From Concealment studio, it's Pete Mitchell and Dan Sams.
Hey, Freedom Nation, this is Pete Mitchell.
And I'm Dan Sams.
And you're listening to the From Concealment Podcast, or as we like to call it, Tinfoil Hat Podcast.
That's Tinfoil Hats, yep.
You know, I was actually thinking about this morning, Dan, and I didn't bring this up in our pre-game show, if you will. I'm actually wondering if we're going to have to go to an instant release on our podcast, like the day we record it is the day we release it, because everything is happening so quick.
Yeah.
That a week later, it's like, that's so old news.
Yeah. So you know what? If you want to do that, I'm down, man. I mean, we're on top of it right now, and I'm down with it, man. If you want to do same day release, if you want to put out this one today, I'm totally down with it. We'll just be right back at it next week.
We might have to do that, because here's the thing, guys. I was texting Dan this morning, texting some of my buddies, and of course, you know, I got to Facebook this because that's how I roll in today's world. Mm-hmm. But oil prices. Oh, geez, take a snapshot of that one.
You got it? Where you
oil is at 48 cents a barrel.
Holy cow. Oh, my gosh. We were talking just a little while ago. It was at $1 and change. That was 10 minutes ago?
Yeah. I mean, earlier today, I was like, it's at $8. And I'm like texting all my friends. I go, we're going to war, dude. They're going to go to war over this. And then $5. And then $1.60. Now 39 cents. Oh, my gosh. Dude, there is no way Russia can stand for that. They can't.
Yeah, man.
Their economy relies on their oil, and I'm sitting here going, okay, so is China just literally playing the long game, right?
Oh,
you notice how they've totally been pumping up their death numbers from the coronavirus? Like, I wonder if they're thinking, hey, wait a second. If we can keep them all in lockdown, we're crashing their economies. Let's go ahead and just pump up the death numbers so that way they're staying in lockdown, their economies never take off, and then we can go in there and basically take over the world.
Yeah, and they could. Like, they could totally do that. This is, So, yeah, you know what? Regarding the whole death number thing, could we just take a minute and point out, Washington Times, several others have pointed out that there's evidence now that the virus started, and maybe it got over into the wet market or whatever, but it looks like it did start most likely in one of the Wuhan viral labs. They think that there was some kind of a leak. We now know that there was actually an effort by our embassy to try to bring attention to a couple of those labs because their testing was so loose and they weren't doing all the safety procedures. And again, we don't know what's intentional and what's not, but it's really looking like somehow they made a big mistake there, and that's what got the virus out. I just think it's worth noting that back, oh man, was that December that you and I were talking about the virus thing on the show? And I remember saying, like, you know, I'm not saying that this is what it is, but isn't it strange that there's two viral labs there in Wuhan? And I think, don't hold me to this, we might have even referenced, somebody could go back, that there'd been issues there already. And so I kind of just want to say, I mean, we told you so, guys. We were talking about this. And then just the normal stream of things. Of course, we sound like crazy conspiracy theorists. Now we're proving, it looks like we're right. And so then at every stage, like when the death toll in China was supposedly low, and I'm like, guys, I'm looking at video of what I'm seeing from some of the people I was following over.
Come on.
And I'm like, I don't think that those numbers are accurate. I think it's much worse. And of course, they're like,
how everyone goes, yeah, but it's from China. Like no one believes anything that comes from China.
Yeah, well, it's exactly right. And so, like, that was we were. It's easy for us to say we can't trust China. Then other people are like, "Oh, it's not that bad. It's not that bad." Well, then it gets here, and I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, this is a serious thing." And they're like, "We've got to shut down everything," and we're like, "Whoa, hold on." And I'm kind of like, "Can you not listen to the guys who were calling this?" Like, I'm not saying I'm an expert here, but I'm a little annoyed that we keep getting.
Well, what I thought was funny is, okay, so I was with you originally. I was like, look, it seems awfully shady that this is coming from China, right where they've got viral labs. And it's like, and China was freaking out over it. Like the stuff they were doing to their own people. Of course, it's China, right?
Yeah,
they do that to
that's what
their
they
own
do.
people.
Yeah.
They did that to people who lived in Beijing for the Beijing Olympics. They're like, we don't really care. We're going to kick you out, take your property, screw you. That's China for you. But then I was like, yeah, but you know what? I'm listening to these CDC guys, and they're like, no, we can tell this is not a man-made created virus. So what I thought was really interesting is last week or 2 weeks ago, I was reading that they go, no, what we think might have happened was this was China's way of showing that their labs are just as good as the U.S. labs.
I heard something
and that they could
that.
identify this stuff. And so, yes, it was a natural virus that they were trying to identify and do all whatever they do in these virus labs. I have no idea, right? I'm not a virologist or whatever they're called. And then it escaped there. Either it escaped or they intentionally let it out. I don't know which one it was.
Yeah.
But that
Still
actually
unclear.
brings both of those together where, yeah, it is a natural virus. And yeah, it was released by the Wuhan lab because they had it and just let it go.
Yeah. And maybe accidental, maybe on purpose.
Yeah. I mean, because the whole accidental thing, I could totally see that. And I was watching, there was a show, it was like a 6-episode show on, oh man, it might have been National Geographic Channel or something like that. I don't know. We recently cut the cable and went to what's called YouTube TV. For those who aren't familiar with it, I hadn't been familiar with it before, but it's literally the greatest service in the world because we get all the channels we wanted to get, unlimited DVR because it's YouTube, right? They just freaking record the entire world and just play it back. All of our TVs, all of our devices, YouTube TV, right? So I actually really, really like it. And one of the channels was a channel we hadn't had before. I think it was National Geographic. And they had this thing on the Ebola outbreak that we had here in the States when they had this, ape of some sort, chimpanzee, whatever it was, here in the States that had it. And like everything that they went through between the CDC and the Army that handles that to try and stop it. And you could just see how it was an accident, like accidentally. And even if you got exposed, like one of the guys totally doesn't believe it's Ebola. He works for the U.S. Army. He's not in the U.S. Army. He was a contractor because he was a scientist. And he's just like, dude, it's not. And so like he goes, look, you can smell it, right? And he goes to the other guy in the lab. He's like, here, wafting it over. He goes, no, I don't smell it. And the other guy's like, yeah, I don't smell it either. Like, they didn't know it was Ebola at the moment. And like, they're literally inhaling Ebola.
Holy cow.
And so as soon as he figures out, oh crap, this is Ebola, he bolts. Like he just, I'm out of here.
Oh my gosh.
And it's like, I could totally see someone who accidentally gets exposed and is your first thought, I better stay in lockdown and die in this lab. Or is your first thought, get me the heck out of here?
I mean, I guess you want to get out of there. I guess that's the natural reaction.
Some people are going to go, look, I'm bolting for the door. If I'm going to die, I'm going to die out there. I'm not dying in here.
I guess. Oh, man.
And that was based on a true story here in the U.S. And I was like, oh, crap. Because I remember reading about it back when it happened. And I was like, oh, geez, this is not good.
Holy cow, man. This is fun. So you can see, what was it? Was it Chuck Colson that he was talking about in the Watergate situation? He's like, we couldn't get 12 guys to keep a secret. He's like, my view on what a lot of these things, he's like, it often will make more sense for it to be an accident because it's so hard to keep a good secret.
Yeah.
However, And I think he's right. So I'm going to lean toward, I would default towards, this is probably a big accident. Of course, we know that governments always use accidents like this to accomplish their tyranny. And so it's probably an accident. But every now and then I just get into this, the other thing about government is there's so much manipulation. Somebody's got some hold over somebody else.
Yeah.
And
ain't that the truth?
if you ever saw the HBO show Chernobyl, which is dramatization, but so close.
I saw The Hills Have Eyes. Same thing?
It's close.
Okay.
Chernobyl's really interesting because they follow in absolute detail the leak and how in the bureaucracy of the Soviet Union, you don't want to look bad to your superior because it might mean your death or your total, like your whole family losing everything. And so at every level, as it would get exposed, they covered it up. So it kept getting worse and worse and worse. Even the leak itself, there was the main guy, whatever making decisions is making some bad decision, and everybody under him knows that like the reactor is blowing, but they don't want to confront their superior about it. And so basically, however many hundreds, thousands of people died because up the chain. So you think about that in something like another communist country like China, at every level, they're going to try to keep the cap on what's happening so that nobody knows, so that they don't look bad until it's already out there.
Right.
And I think those kinds of things happen so much. And you add to that leverage. Now you can make something work for you, right? Now you add like something like what we've got going on with all the Epstein stuff. You get somebody that has dirt on somebody else. Well, now you can make stuff like this work for you. Now there's an accident. Now you use that as leverage against something else. And those kind of things play out really bad for society. So anyway, that's the story. Crazy stuff. So did you see? Oh, go ahead. You had something else.
No, this oil thing to me it's a real capper in everything that's going on, because I'm looking at it going, okay, this means war. Like, first of all, Russia can't stand for it economically. Like to hit $20 a barrel killed Russia. To hit 39 cents a barrel, you might as well not be in the oil game. The joke on Facebook is, if oil prices keep going down, Exxon and Shell are going to have to lay off some congressmen. It's true, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
and that was back when we were at like, what were we at, like $30 a barrel
Probably.
at that point, right? Like I forget what, like that was, it wasn't like we're at 39 cents. Like I think you made the comment before we jumped on. That's cheaper than the barrel. Like
Yeah.
I know they don't put it all in barrels all the time, right? But like if you wanted to put that much money in a barrel, you can't afford the barrel.
Right.
Like, oh my gosh. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so what is this all going to mean? Because I'm looking at this going, okay, things are really, really going to get dicey. I think we talked about it on last week's podcast. The largest, I don't want to say manufacturer, but the largest provider of pork in the U.S. had to shut down because of coronavirus. Too many people had it. It's a Tyson company, right? Tyson's the largest chicken, I know, company in the country. And I mean, to close down pork, and they're saying, look, we're telling you this is going to affect the food supply, like logistics, the truckers, like what happens when the truckers can't get from A to B? We don't have autonomous trucks yet. And we're really decades away from that. I mean, they finally admitted it, right? They're like, yeah, I know we've been telling you 5 years. No, we're decades away because the technology is just not there yet. It's like, okay, where are we headed, man? Like this is getting dicey.
Well, I had a relative that was asking about, what would seem like unrelated. She's like, okay, so they're deferring my student loans. And she's like, so I don't have to make payments. And so she's like, I could pay down on principal right now. Should I do that? Or should I invest in a 401k? Because she's just now coming to the age for that. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I'm like,
buy guns and ammo.
Yeah. I'm like, normally I would say like, hey, everything's low, so it's a good time to invest. But then I'm like, I don't know that. I have no idea what's going to happen. Like, it was almost like in 2008 where conventional wisdom did not apply anymore.
Right.
It used to be like, well, you buy a house, you pay on it, it's going to be worth more later. It's a great investment. Gone. That's over, right? And so, I mean, we recovered some. It's all, but it's now you can't say that to somebody anymore. Like I still lost probably $40,000 or $50,000 on my first house, right? Even years later, I just got back to where I didn't have to write a check to sell it, right?
Right.
And so I'm like, what do I tell somebody like that? And I'm like, well, and then also, like, do you pay on your student loans? Or I told her, I'm like, this whole inflation thing, who knows what the dollar is going to be worth? Maybe it doesn't matter. Like,
I know, right?
Nothing. What do you even tell people?
Well, that's the thing for me. Okay, so I don't know if I shared this on this podcast. I know I talked about it on one of my podcasts that I do. I chose not to pay my mortgage for the next 90 days because my bank is offering the whole, hey, don't pay your mortgage for 90 days, no negatives on your credit report. And then at the end of that, when you go to pay your fourth month from now, you got to pay all 4 months. Do I have the money to pay them? Yes, I have the money to pay them. But I'm also looking at it going, okay, this is such a huge problem. I would rather have the money, assuming that in 90 days the cash is actually still good, than pay on the mortgage. I would rather have the cash, for one. Secondly, it's such a widespread problem. One of the things that 2008 taught us is they're going to do whatever they can to stop the world from losing their homes. So I believe personally, and I could be totally wrong, but I believe they're going to come back and say, okay, here's the payment plan to pay back those months. We're not going to demand it all in 1 month. We're going to spread it out over, X amount of years. I personally believe that's what's going to happen. I don't know it. Don't quote it. Don't make a decision based on that. That's just my own gut going, look, I'd rather play the odds. And I have the money that in 4 months I could turn around and just pay it.
Well, the other thing is, the banks started having things bite them back during all the foreclosures back in like 08, 09, because, here now they've got cities saying nobody's mowing this grass, and they're finding the owner, which of course now is the bank. They're holding on to a house that they can't sell because everybody was broke. And so, like, they were screwed. They would have been much better off working with people, but they hadn't realized how much they suck at that point. Because don't even get me started on how evil they get.
Well, and part of it, I mean, to be fair, the banks are servicers of the loan. They don't actually own the loan in most circumstances. They've already sold it off to Wall Street. So Wall Street has bought a security, usually CMO, some sort of security that has a bunch of loans all together. And usually those loans have a certain credit score average of all the borrowers. They have all this. They're supposed to be right? They're supposed to be all like each other. And so they bought a debt, which is what a loan, or the loan is a debt. They bought this debt security, this bond, and they bought it based on certain rules. We're going to get a certain amount of money back every month, which is going towards principal and interest, and they know how much the interest is. And so they bought it. So in one way, it's like, okay, it's not totally the bank's fault because they're literally just the servicer of it. You entered a contract and it's been sold. And like, really, that end guy is the one who needs to determine what's he going to take or not take. And the reality is you got your loan that's been chopped up and sold to how many different people now? It can't be done. That's why it was like, okay, we just have to figure out what we're going to do because basically the Wall Street's going to get screwed, but no one really cared, right? Because it's like freaking Wall Street, screw them anyway. And I don't blame them for that. But I mean, so it's a bigger thing than just the bank being able to say, okay, this is what we're going to do with you. In most cases, not all cases. Some of the smaller banks, savings and loans, a lot of times they do hold on to the debt because that is an income stream for them, and that's how they make their money.
Well, and you've got a much more legit situation there, whereas some of these larger ones that are rocking this whole fractional reserve scheme where they're lending out money they literally do not have. And so my argument is like, why should I let you take my real house when you gave me fake money to buy it in the first place? But I'm sure using my real work on it. Now, I'm not saying like, I believe let's pay our mortgages. Like I'm not on the whole, but there's so many shady shell game pieces going on that it's just like, oh, and then it's like when somebody's done wrong, there's actually several people that have done wrong. And so many times the person who has taken the hit on it probably wasn't the guy who was doing anything malicious, which just sucks, you know? So crazy stuff though. Hey, I wanted to mention this other thing. Have you seen, so you heard about I think he was some kind of he was in a naval uniform. I don't know if he was a captain or whatever, but he puts full naval dress uniform on, stands out on a beach. I think it was in Jacksonville. Don't hold me to this. Stands out on a beach, waded about knee deep in the water with a sign that says the land of the free because the beaches were closed. And he just stands out there and protests. Of course, there's a cop there waiting to arrest him, but he just makes this stand. And it's essentially like, I didn't, fight for your freedom for us to take it all away. So he decides, so somewhere not too long after that, I think it was the Jacksonville mayor makes this, okay, cool, let's open up the beaches. And I think recommended, you're muted. I don't know if you can hear me.
I did.
Sorry about that.
I was telling Alexa to turn on my desk fan because I'm getting kind of warm in here.
Sorry about that. Sorry. I thought you were trying to talk to me. But here's the interesting thing. So they open up the beaches and recommend social distancing and whatever, tell everybody like, hey, but if you want to do some outdoor activity, you can run at the beach, you can whatever, we're not going to arrest you. So Fox News.
You're not going to arrest me. Oh, thank you. Thank you, sir.
So here's the crazy thing, though. Fox News, of all, and I mean, like, they're all a mess, but of all places to do this, Fox News shares an image of the beaches, and they're like, beaches are open. And it's this crowded beach, and there is a huge viral backlash of like, what the heck? How could they do this? All these people are going to die, blah, 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 freaking out. And so it did look bad. It's like, man, people can't be smart about this.
But it was a stock photo.
It was a stock photo. I am right now. And actually, a friend of mine took the screenshot from the Fox News article and then screenshotted the live webcam. I'm looking at the live webcam right now. You can look at Jacksonville Beach right now. It is barren. There's hardly any, I can see maybe 2 dots. The picture that he compared when he screenshotted it had just people spread out everywhere. Not every spread out. They're all spread out. So there's hardly anybody there is what I was saying. But man, talk about misinformation. And I know all my Republican buddies will say, oh, I'll trust Fox News and CNN is evil. And I'm like, you can't trust them either, man. And CNN is also evil, by the way. It's just nuts, man. So little, that's your misinformation for the day. Be aware. You can't trust CNN. You saw the whole thing about, what's his name from Tesla. And they just pretty much defamed him for no reason. He's like,
I thought the way that Elon handled himself was hilarious.
It was great. He cracks me up.
How is CNN still in business? That was like the best ever comeback.
Well, and think about stuff like that where in any kind of a situation like this, all you have to do as the journalist, who your one freaking job is to make sure that the information you're putting out there has been vetted and to the best of your knowledge is correct. All they needed to do was call him. They could have tweeted him. They could have called anybody involved. Nobody did jack. They posted a false report, and then all it took was a tweet to be like, what the heck? And so all he has to do is screenshot the email where they're thanking him for him, saying they got them. This is why I'm like, you guys wonder why we want to put on tinfoil hats and freak out. It's crap like this, right? Yeah. And as soon as I'm having a conversation about CNN, the freaking Republican guy will be like, that's why I listen to Fox News. And I'm this is what I'm telling, they're both lying to you. All the time they're lying to you. So it drives me nuts.
Dude, I'm with you 100% on all of that. I'm like, I don't trust the media. I don't trust the government. They have lost our trust.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they really care. The whole, we can't tell the American people the whole story. Why not?
Yeah,
You don't
why
think
not?
we can put on our big boy pants and hear the whole
Yeah.
story?
Yeah,
You don't
why
think
would
we're good enough to hear that?
yeah?
I
Why
mean,
would you not tell us?
so
Yeah.
one of my old friends from college, he and I are night and day politically. He's a
Yeah.
raging liberal, and I am so not. Like, I'm a raging conservative. I'm so much a conservative, I can't stand the Republicans. Like, they're too
Oh,
liberal
yeah.
for me.
Well, this is what I've said for a long time. The Republicans and Democrats are socialists. They're just a different flavor. You have corporate socialists, and you have whatever else you want to call socialists, but they're both socialists. Like, they're still tax and spend. It's just a different kind. So go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So I mean, he and I got into it because, as a typical liberal, he's pro-government, hey, we got to stay at home. Government's, they're going to take care of us. They're going to give us unemployment. They're going to feed us. They're going to save us from the big bad coronavirus, right? And so we actually had a decent conversation about it because I was like, look, I respect your opinion. I totally disagree, and here's why I disagree. And I just, went into my little tirade the way he went into his, but we still, we're cool with each other. And at the end, I just said, hey, we disagree, right? And so I put some comment on Facebook. I think it was this morning's oil price, right? Which, by the way, now it's down to 26 cents a barrel. I mean, it just keeps going lower and lower.
Holy cow!
And he replies, because I put, dude, war is coming. Like, this war is coming. We are going to go to war. We always do that, and now we're going to have to go to war. Someone else might start it this time, but we're going to go to war. And so he goes, well, this is what Trump has always wanted. He puts that on my Facebook. And so I just reply back. I go, Trump is an arrogant fool, because he is. Like, Trump is a total arrogant fool. Literally, I look at him and I'm like, I can't believe this guy is our president. I'm like ashamed that he's our president. I mean, I'm not one of those guys, not my president, right? I'm like, no, he's still my president, right? I'm ashamed that he's my president, but he's my president. And I honestly don't think it would be better with Hillary. Yeah. And, in one of my other posts, I'm like, hey, I think both of them should be in jail. He should be in jail for sexual assault. And she should be in jail for pretty much everything else. Pick it. And that's what she needs to be in jail
Between the
for.
two of them, they've done everything.
They've covered it all. Right? And so, but it was funny because he replies back to that and he's like, you and I might disagree politically on a lot of things, but at least we agree on this. And of course, and then he goes on, I hate the fact that I got to support Biden. I'm like, well, look, I ain't that bad. I don't like Trump, but I ain't supporting Biden.
I'm going to tell you, you don't have to do that.
Exactly.
Oh, and did you guys see the thing where CNN waited so long to report on all the sexual accusations against him, the sexual assault accusations? They finally just posted, maybe yesterday, did CNN actually report on it at all? Because they've just been ignoring it. As all this stuff's all like suits are being filed, the whole thing. And of course, you can imagine they're just basically defaming everybody. And I'm like, don't even pretend you people are pro-women. Like, you guys are evil. Like
you went after Brett Kavanaugh like a pit bull on a T-bone.
On far less accusations.
Yeah.
Less
yeah. First of all, I didn't really have any opinion on Brett Kavanaugh myself. Yeah. I was like, whatever. I don't know anything about this guy. I wasn't one of those guys who's like, oh, finally a conservative. Let's go with him. Yeah. I'm like, dude, whatever. First of all, if he's this far into politics, I pretty much don't trust him.
Yeah, exactly right.
Like, the only ones I trust are the ones who never actually win. Like, I'm a big Alan Keyes fan. I love Alan Keyes. Yeah. Alan Keyes is my guy, right? Yeah. That guy will never win an office. He just won't. No.
Well, and there's a bunch of reasons, which, side note, two comments on this. One, have you seen the documentary Out of Shadows yet?
I started to watch it because you sent it.
It's worth watching. Now, I'm always cautious in anything that brings up some of these things that cannot be, we're going on, not hearsay, but we're going on like one or two people that are eyewitnessing. But you start putting stuff together that are legit things. And this is where I'm always cautious. We can say like, hey, this stuff we know. What all that means, we can't say for sure. But a lot of it is they're just saying like, well, you got MK Ultra, you've got this thing. Like a lot of that comes together, and you're like, there's some really shady stuff going on there. But here was what I was going to comment on. It's related to Kavanaugh. First, I know a lot of people that are pointing out some of the same things you and I do, but they're really into this Q movement. I don't know if you've heard of this. It's like a conspiracy
you mentioned
theory
it before,
channel.
but I don't remember what it is.
All right, so here's my problem. Like, they bring up some really good stuff. They'll point out a lot of inconsistencies that we need to pay attention to. However, they very quickly jump over to, and that's why Trump is our hero. And I cringe every time because it'll be like, well, like 75% there. And I'm like, that was good. You're right on that. They'll make an assertion that I'm like, well, we can't say for sure about that, guys. You're kind of jumping into a speculation realm. You're probably right, but hold on. And then the very next thing is, and that's why we need Trump. I got into it. This is related to Kavanaugh with somebody who tends to be on the fringe of the conspiracy theory stuff. And it's the same thing as you and I, where we'll get to like, hey, I can agree with you on 75% of this. And then you jump into something that I'm like, you have no basis for that. You're totally in speculation. Like, this part, we can all agree, evidence, and yeah, you're right. It sucks that nobody wants to listen to it. But this part over here, you can't verify. So you need to dial it back. And especially when it comes around to, and that's why Trump is our hero.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, no, now I got big problems because he's not pro-gun. He's doing all kinds of stuff that's anti-gun and related to Kavanaugh. This is what brings it around for me. Kavanaugh was an architect of the Patriot Act.
Oh.
So you can't go and say, here is, look at what he did in nominating Kavanaugh, and Kavanaugh is this great Supreme Court justice. Sure, he's more conservative than a lot of the, whoever, Clinton would have put in there, but he's part of this, let's control all the information and you don't have any privacy. Like, he's advocated for Fourth Amendment violations. And so all that coming together, I'm like, that's where when these guys come back around and saying that, the solution is Trump and all that, I'm like, no, man, like, that's he's why, bad here in too.
California, in Huntington Beach, they had protests against the stay-at-home order. And I wish I would have known about it. And literally, we would have taken the whole family there and been a part of the protests. And then, but the thing that I hated in all the pictures is there's all this pro-Trump crap. And I'm like, look, I'm not pro-Trump.
Yeah.
I am pro-freedom.
Yeah.
And
which means I can't be pro-Trump.
Yeah, really, it does. And I know that's like, that's almost like the third rail. How can you guys, you too, especially, how can Dan and Pete be not pro-Trump? No. Look, I'm not pro-Trump for a lot of reasons, but because of his bump stock ban, Nevada has now used that to basically outlaw AR-15s. They're ignoring the Supreme Court's Heller case. And basically anything that can easily be converted into a fully automatic weapon is now what the court has decided in Nevada. And that therefore means every semi-automatic can be easily converted into fully automatic by bumping it, by whatever you want.
Using a belt loop. Yep.
Your belt loop, right? Exactly. And so therefore, they've basically banned AR-15s, which is a flagrant violation of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court's not doing crap about it. They're not taking these cases. They're not answering the question. It's still illegal in California to buy ammo without a background check. That judge who gave us 1 week of freedom so we could buy standard capacity magazines, 30-round AR-15 magazines, 17-round Glock 19 or Glock 17 magazines. That same judge has been sitting on that case since, I think, August, which is one of the reasons I haven't bought any ammo in California, because one, it's a pain in the ass to go through the background check. Mm-hmm. Everything has to match up as the last background check you've got. But the problem is I've had a license change since then, so it's not going to match up. And I'm like, I'm going to get rejected. And then I got to go through all the rigmarole. Mm-hmm. I'm like, screw it. This is crazy. I'm going to, make my own ammo, which California is going to ban eventually. They just don't right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why we can't be pro-Trump. Now, I will still say I'm not one of those guys that just hates everything he does. I'm happy.
There's a lot of things he's done that I'm really happy about.
And call it enemy attestation. Like, there's plenty of things where I'm like, hey, I'm glad he did that, and probably way better than what it would have been under Clinton. So sure, that's better. But like, I'm not going to pretend that he's a hero for freedom.
Yeah.
Sharing other random news, man. Did anybody follow N Block Press? Really highly recommend, side note, on Instagram, EN_BLOC_press. Just tends to update with stuff in real time, live video when they can on stuff that, other people won't promote. They alerted me to something funny that I think you should be aware of, Pete. Not that you would do this. But I started seeing ads and some promotion for these portable wall hangers on Instagram. Are you familiar with this at all?
No.
May not.
Huh.
Well, if you could see a picture, the wall hanger, I don't know if you can see on here, Pete. You might see what that looks like.
Yeah.
But the portable wall hangers, they look like something that you could use in a thing that could maybe, I don't know, do a thing to your gun. And so but it comes in a thing that just hangs on the wall. And I saw it and I'm like, well, that's hilarious. I think that's great. In Block Press sends out a notification, I think yesterday, day before. They're like, hey, caution everybody, this could be a sting operation. So they start tracing back the Google Analytics on here. Of course, get to the page. They find the company that's running it. Of course, their contact for their who is information is all hidden. So it's a privacy. But they start looking at some of the other information, and they realize that it's roughly 416 meters. The offices are 416 meters from the FBI offices. So, so brothers and sisters, don't buy any wall hangers right now. I feel like that should be our bit of information for the Freedom Nation. Please don't buy any wall hangers of any kind, no matter how cool they might look. Please don't buy them.
See, that's one of the benefits that I have in living in California. Like, our laws are so bad that I won't even go near breaking the firearms laws.
Yeah.
Because
this wouldn't even be breaking it. It would just be getting something that looked like something that.
But then they would use that as
exactly.
a reason to get a warrant and then come into your house.
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
And that's, yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
man. Yeah.
It's not good. It's not good.
It's not good at all. Well, and then we were talking before. I just finished. Actually, I'm not done watching. I've been watching through the Paramount miniseries on Waco that's on Netflix right now, which I'm going to recommend. It's from the perspective of the FBI negotiator, who, by the way, was the guy who kept advocating for pulling back, not using any force. He's like, because the longer we're talking, the more people come out safely. And of course, they went the exact other way. But he wrote an article exposing a whole bunch of stuff related to Ruby Ridge and Waco. Not an article, he wrote a book. But all related to this. So I'm thinking about, like, you buy the wrong thing from the wrong person online or wherever, and you're going to find yourself in a world of hurt with the ATF. And it doesn't even have to be intentional, man. Doesn't even have to be intentional for them to use it as a reason to get a warrant. And it goes bad, man. The whole thing that the ATF did there, where, dogs start barking, somebody shoots a dog, violence erupts, and it's over. Like, you could lose your life over a wall hanger. So, hey, kids.
And a fuel filter.
Or a fuel filter, as the case may be. You got to watch out for those 223 fuel filters, the 5.56ers. Yeah, I don't know. They probably still come after you for a 22 LR model.
In California, you bet your ass they would.
Yeah,
California, it's like, whatever we can use to come after you, we're going to come after you.
Oh, it makes me cringe.
It does. It does, man. And we had unfortunately, there was a fire on my street this morning, about 6 houses down. Unfortunately, according to the news, the wife died. The husband's burned. He's in the hospital. I don't know. I mean, I didn't see any smoke, but there were pictures on Nextdoor, the social media app, that shows there was smoke. So I don't know how bad the fire was, but our entire street, I mean, we had fire engines from Huntington Beach, which is not close, coming to us. I mean, we got, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 other cities in between Huntington Beach and us. And so now our whole street is blocked off with cops out there. And I just walk out there and I'm like, freaking, just I understand you're doing your job here, but I hate seeing you guys that close to my house because I don't trust you all.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but I don't trust you.
Yep. So like, well, yeah, we're here because of a fire. We're also fixing this guy's cable, and then
we're
next thing you know, they're kicking in your door. You're like, dang it!
We had
should have known they would have done that.
We had
These guys are known for fires.
Yeah, I know. All of a sudden, my dog is shot, and the next thing you know, all hell's breaking loose in my house.
Yep.
No, so one of this has happened maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, but one of our neighbors across the street, diagonal from us, all of a sudden we see the sheriff. Like I live in an unincorporated part of the county, so we get the sheriff here, and we see like 3 different sheriffs are there, and they're there for a long time. I'm like, this is kind of interesting because the sheriff, I mean, when they come out to an issue, they're like, you know, whatever, do their job and leave.
Yeah.
A little bit later that night, I get a knock on the front door. My dog's going off like crazy, and he's like, hey, can I come in? My dog's going off. I'm like, hold on, let me put my dogs outside. I go put my dogs outside. I open the door. I do not let them in. No cop ever gets to come in my house without a warrant. Ever. Never
without a warrant. Never. They're like vampires. The bad things happen when you invite them in. If you don't invite them in, bad things might.
They have no power, right?
But they don't have the same power.
Right.
Yeah.
So never invite the cops into your house. So then I go back. I open up my door wide so it doesn't look like I'm hiding anything, because I'm not hiding anything. I'm just not going to allow you in. And then they're like, oh, there was a robbery, over here. Wondering if you saw anything. Do you have any security cameras? Blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, no, I didn't see anything. I'm like, well, the neighbors had guys working on the house. And he's like, yeah, but those are all Mexicans. They're all illegal. They don't see anything. And I'm like, okay, whatever. You said it, not me. That's whatever. But they were literally right next door to this. Well, the cop was lying to me. I find this out later. What really happened was there was a minor living at that house, and it was one of those To Catch a Predator type moments where some older dude was going over there to molest the girl, or I think it was a girl. Boy, I don't remember. And whatever the scenario was, he got scared off. Parents came home. I don't know what it was, but that's why all the cops were there for so long, because it wasn't just a robbery. This was a possible child abduction, possible molestation, right? Much serious deal. Yeah. But to me, what it still bothered me is I'm like, you still lied to me.
Yeah.
Like you're telling me it's, because you don't want to tell me the truth. I don't even know why you don't want to tell me the truth. But
yeah. First, why not tell the truth? But even if for some reason you couldn't, then it's like, yeah, we can't really talk about it. Something's going on, though.
It's an ongoing deal. We can't talk
ongoing
about
situation.
Deal.
We can't talk because I understand. Like if somebody was, I don't want all my business out, especially if there's a misunderstanding or something. And so, like, sure, yeah, maybe your neighbor doesn't want to. Fine, but like, say, hey, we can't talk about it. Don't lie.
Right.
Makes me mad.
That's the thing. It pisses me off, and that's why every time I see a cop, I'm like, crap, dude. And now that I carry a gun with me, I know my rule in my county is I have to tell the cop that I have a gun, which to me is a violation of my First, Fourth, and Fifth Amendment rights. So that bothers me that they.
I would say even second is getting infringed on. Like you shouldn't. It's an infringement in my opinion.
Sure,
to have
absolutely.
To mention it. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Oh man, that stuff drives me crazy.
Yeah. But
so do we want to,
guys? This is our fun little rant, our tinfoil hat time. Things are getting crazy.
So can I share some happy gun stuff just for the sake of changing it up? So I realize I got to be careful or I'll get in trouble even for this. Leroy got the chance to get together and social distance just right, but got to do some shooting with an acquaintance of his. And had a really good time of it because he was mentioning a friend of his actually made a Texas Star, welded the thing together, did the whole thing, hinged, the steel plates in just right so they pop off when you shoot them, the whole thing like it's supposed to with the Texas Star. Super fun. So I'm going to tell you guys, get yourself a 6-shooter, cowboy style, Colt or Ruger makes a really good one that I would say is pretty close to as good as the Colt, just not as fancy looking. Texas Star with a cowboy pistol is some real fun.
How far?
I don't know, 25 yards.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible if you can do that. Texas Star, 25 yards with a pistol?
I don't know where I was. Dude, so let me just tell you, I'm not good at judging. So I don't know, maybe we were 15, 20, but we're pretty far away. We had some good fun. So
did he have the weight on the Texas Star?
So it doesn't fall over?
No. So you can have a Texas Star, and then what they'll do a lot of times is they'll put a weight on it and another another stand that you have to shoot first, and the weight causes it to go really fast, and then it falls off. Right, so it just you like put it at the top, and it goes, and then it falls off. But the wheel is just spinning on the Texas Star.
So we didn't have that. He had it roughly balanced to where, like, you shoot one and then it starts moving on you. But no, we didn't have one spinning that much. No, I don't think I could have done that. It was all I could do to, with a 6-shooter, get that thing taken out.
What caliber?
Yeah, 45, man. 45 long, man.
Jeez.
This is what we do. This is shoot. Yeah. 45 long is a lot of fun. And it doesn't kick as much as you would think. You got enough weight on that thing. You just feel like a cowboy, man.
You got to do the Texas Star with your Ruger, your 10/22.
Yeah.
It's actually really easy and really fun.
So I want to. So he was a little bit concerned about ricochets with the 22. He didn't want us to shoot anything. So that was going to be my thing. I'd like to find out, I'd like to get a Texas Star that would be, rated or whatever for 22. I do it
with my my Ruger 9mm. PCC. And that's why I was thinking of your 10/22.
Yeah, it's basically the same gun, just in a different.
It's so fun. And I got a red dot on mine. And I mean, it's just like you're able to get on it so much quicker and shoot the dang thing. Whereas when you're using a pistol, man, it is freaking hard. That thing is moving, and you got to judge the movement. You got to shoot at the right time. You got to line. I mean, that's why, like, 25 yards, there's no freaking way I could do it. I can tell you that right now. I would not be able to do it. It would take forever to shoot all of them.
This guy does competition shootings, and his buddy was over who also does with him. And so he has, the steel bowling pins that with the resetter target. Then he has a Texas Star, and then he had maybe 3 of the little poppers, and then a couple of like man-sized cardboard targets. And so his buddy who does all the like 9mm, AR racer type stuff, he let me shoot that thing, and I tell you what, that with a red dot on it, it was much better. Like that iron sights on the Colt 45 was like, you're having trouble hitting stuff. I did better than I thought it would. Something about that when you do like 2 cylinders full, and all of a sudden it's warmed up and it's on, or maybe I'm warmed up. But man, with that 9mm AR, man, I was singing. It was just plinking all over the place. I mean, Leroy was plinking all over the place. That was what Leroy told me. It was good fun, man. So I tell you what, if you get the chance, get out and shoot, because I think I'm already hearing from every day seems like the same. People are stuck inside. It's rough. Get yourself outside. If you can shoot, do it. It's good for you. I'm still living off the joy from that.
It's a perishable skill. Later. You need to do it just to practice.
Yeah. But
and if you can't go out and shoot, seriously take some time and do some dry firing in the house. Mm-hmm. Practice clearing rooms like you've talked about before. Yep. Now's a great time to do it. You can get in a lot of great, dry fire practice. In fact, my buddy Lance, who runs Fast OC, I mean, he's I think he's the master's level of the competition shooting that he does. In mm-hmm. fact, he went over to the cowboy style, which is all with revolvers, because it was like he would have to compete against guys like Bob Vogel and stuff like that. Guys you're never going to beat. And he's like, forget it. I got to go to another division so I can actually win some titles here. and so he actually really likes, and I've literally never seen anyone freaking drop that cylinder, throw in, I think he had like a 8-round cylinder, and like throw in 8 new rounds, get back on target so freaking quick. And he's like, look, the difference between like a Glock, a striker fire, and a revolver is, he goes, look, the striker fire, the barrel is moving, right? You got your sights on top. Mm-hmm. It's on the slide. The barrel is moving. He goes, but on this, the sights are fixed. They're mm-hmm. always on the barrel and on the back of the gun, and it never changes. Mm-hmm. So he goes, it's actually more accurate when you're using a revolver.
Yeah. It's always bugged me about a lot of semi-automatics that, like, that some of them, when you've got your slide back, the thing jiggles in there. I'm like, this can't be perfect. Even when it all locks in, this can't be. That's one of the reasons why I like my Walther is still a fixed barrel inside of that.
Okay.
And so the slide moves, the barrel is fixed. Of course, your sights are moving, so staying on is not the same. But yeah, when you're talking cowboy action, man, all that's staying in the same place. And I mean, theoretically, if you can get used to holding that thing right, I think that's
and they make their own ammo. So they make ammo that has like no recoil. Like it sounds like beep, 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 like when they're firing it at the range.
Yeah. It's awesome though.
Heck, man.
When I've heard of these guys that do the like speed shooting, like the trick shooter guys that just do like, it's just a cap with wax as the bullet. And so I don't even think they put powder in them, like, because it's either shooting balloons from 6 feet away, because it's like, how fast can you draw and shoot? And, you know, they're trying to shoot 2 balloons in less than your ability to distinguish that it's 2 shots that's going on. It's actually really like, it's like nothing you've ever seen. It's really worth watching. But yeah, as far as practical, I don't know how practical that is for a guy like you and me in a defensive situation. However, how freaking badass would that be?
You got to have fun, though. It's not just about defensive all the time. You got to have fun.
That's right. It's all fun. But I'm still, it's similar to my dream of stopping a shooting with a yeet cannon so that I can say that I did it, right? To be able to fight off miscreants with an old cowboy 6-shooter. And like, I'm not recommending this. Please don't do this. This would be a terrible thing. But how cool it would be to be like, yeah, I came at him with my 6-shooter and like, we just went full cowboy on him. I think that's awesome.
There was a great meme on Facebook and I can't even remember what it was about. I just remember the punchline and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to use that punchline. They ain't going to yeet themselves. And I'm like, oh, there's the punchline right there. They ain't going to yeet themselves.
Oh, I love it. Ain't going to yeet themselves, man.
Hey, you want to give Lake Erie their props?
Yeah. So, hey, everybody, want to say Lake Erie Arms, of course, has been open for business for the last however many weeks now. We only took that 1 week off. We are stocked with ammo. And I know a lot of people are having trouble getting ammo. We've got ammo right now. So come on out to Lake Erie Arms in Huron, Ohio. Check us out at lea.net. Lots of fun stuff going on. And if you go to lea.net, there is a text opt-in. And I'm going to ask, just don't do this if you're never going to be in town, if you're from way far away. But if you're close by, text in to our number there that's on the website. You'll get some free exclusive information about deals and whatnot. But appreciate you guys. It's good fun.
Cool. All right, guys, we'll be back next week with another episode. I am going to release this one today. So today's going to be a double episode day.
Yeah.
We'll release them as we do them while we're in this Corona craziness. So we're keeping things up to date.
That's right. Freedom Nation out.
All right, guys. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the From Concealment Podcast with Pete Mitchell and Dan Sams. Be sure to tune in next week for more gun talk. Also, check out the From Concealment website for more shooting-related goodness at FromConcealment.com.